Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Rise up! Team Red! Rise up! Team Red!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root, from CardsWire.com, USA Today's NFL Wire site. We're recording episode 786. Joining me is my co-host, Seth Cox, from RevengeOfTheBirds.com, SB Nation's Arizona Cardinals site. As we have, it's a little bit less about the Cardinals. It's more indirectly about the Cardinals, more so as there was news on Monday, that shocked the NFL world with the LA Rams trading for Myles Garrett. And while this isn't about the Cardinals, it certainly impacts the Cardinals. We want to talk about the Myles Garrett trade. The LA Rams in the NFC West, who were already kind of the favorites, are now the clear favorites. They're now the favorites to win the NFC West. They're the Super Bowl champion favorites, as they now have the reigning MVP in Matthew Stafford, and they have the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. The terms of the deal: they get Garrett, who is under contract for several more years. They send to the Cleveland Browns Jared Verse, who in his 2 seasons in NFL was a two-time Pro Bowler, 1 Defensive Rookie of the Year, had 7.5 sacks last season, and then 3 draft picks. Their 2027 first-round pick, 2028 second-round pick, 2029 third-round pick. Whew. So tell me, Seth, first of all, why? I think we know the answer is the why, but why did the Rams do it, and do you think it's a good deal?
I mean, it's a great deal to me. It's just another one of those situations that you look at and you see how this franchise in the Arizona Cardinals is just so far away from the contending teams. You look at a situation like what happened in Seattle last year. The Seahawks move on from a good quarterback in Geno Smith, a guy that, yes, he led the NFL in turnovers while with the Seahawks in 2024, but he wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, right? And what do? They go get the guy that collapsed in the playoffs, that failed down the stretch, that did all this stuff. And Sam Darnold, that's a move that a bold team makes. People, we can debate a lot of things, but that was a bold move. The Rams were arguably, maybe inarguably, but arguably the second best team in the NFL last year. And they said to themselves, what do they have to do to get above Seattle? And you look at it, Jess, not to take anything away from what Sam Darnold accomplished last year, but the Rams are better at quarterback, right? There wasn't an offensive lineman type that the Rams could go get that would take them over the top. We can debate in the draft if they maybe should have added an offensive lineman, a wide receiver, but those didn't present themselves as like readily available. So when Myles Garrett, for whatever reason or whatever the situation was, when Myles Garrett became available, a team that goes, hey, we're the second best. And by the way, they're really close to being the best, right? Like very, very close to being the best team in the NFL. So when the second best team in the NFL goes, all right, how do we get over the best team in the NFL? What do we have to do? The answer is simple. It was, we have to improve our defense. We have to be the team that doesn't give up 396 yards, including 321 yards passing, and forces no turnovers in the NFC Championship game. We can't do that again. And so the Rams make this move knowing that, hey, with Jared Verse, 396 yards, 321 yards through the air, no turnovers by the Seahawks in that game. In the game previous to that, right, the OT thriller that ended up giving the Seahawks the 1 seed, Jess. 38-37. Fantastic game, by the way. One of the best games of the season. The Seahawks had 415 yards of offense. They ran for 171 yards in that game. These are things that a great organization goes, hey, Jared Verse, really good player. Really good. But he's not Myles Garrett. And we've got a very small window with Matthew Stafford remaining where we have one of the best offenses in the NFL. We had a statistical top 10 defense in the NFL, right? 10th overall in points per game allowed. We allowed a lot of yards, right? 17th in yards against, right down the middle. So how do we improve that as a franchise? And they went and did it. And not only did they do it, Jess, they got the best defensive player in the NFL.
That's the crazy part. Like, and it's not that wasn't even it wasn't the only big move they went this offseason, because they also traded for Trent McDuffie. They acquired Jalen Watson, and so they improved the secondary, and they just added the best defensive player in the NFL who set the NFL single season sack record. He's a 2-time defensive player of the year. He's the 5-time first-time All-Pro. You look, he has in his 9 NFL seasons 125 and a half sacks. He averages 16 sacks a year for his career. And he did that for an awful Browns team. He had a no trade clause that he waived to be able to go to the Rams. And here's the thing that's kind of fun. Like, he is like Jared Verse, as promising a prospect and player that he is. His ceiling isn't even Myles Garrett. That was never expected out of Jared Verse. And so you're getting someone who's better now. You know, Jared Verse, as good as he was for the Rams a year ago, had 7.5 sacks. That's, the lowest sack total that Myles Garrett has had as an NFL career was 7 as a rookie when he played only in 11 games. And so he's been wrecking defenses. And this is a defense with the Rams, a defensive front that already has Byron Young. It has Kobe Turner. And you joked about the possibility of Aaron Donald unretiring. That would be wild. But it makes sense, one, because you get a better player for now in this window where they have a chance to win a championship. Maybe one, like this year, they went all in 2021, got the title. They're going all in this year. They've got this year, maybe two next year to compete, because we don't know what's going to happen with Matthew Stafford after this year. And at the same time, they don't have to pay Myles Garrett very much. He has a $9 million cap hit this year and a $16 million cap hit next year for the Rams. That's crazy. And he's already gotten his record-setting deal. The Rams aren't really on the hook for most of that because the guaranteed money was paid out mostly by the Browns. And Jared Verse was going to be eligible for an extension this offseason, and so you were going to have to pay Jared Verse premier pass rusher money anyway. And so if you're going to pay big money to the pass rusher, you get the very best pass rusher. Granted, he is in his age 31 year, but there has been no indication that Myles Garrett is slowing down. He is an absolute freak when it comes to size, strength, mobility, explosiveness. He hasn't missed a game in the last 2 seasons. He's led the league in tackles for loss each of the last 2 seasons. 33 tackles for loss last year, 22 the year before. He's a game wrecker in every sense, and he 100% makes the Rams better. And you know what? Maybe in 3 years, when they decide to move off of Garrett, or Garrett retires, or whatnot, or the big cap hit comes, and Jared Verse becomes a very good pass rusher, I don't see 2 defensive players of the year in Jared Verse's future. He's a very good. He's a good to great defensive player. But if they win a championship this year, especially when you have like Sean McVay, how much longer is Sean McVay going to play? How much longer is Matthew Stafford going to play? After that, you get the championships when you can, and we saw them load up. They went all in for 2021 and got it. As an organization, you make that move.
Right. And I've seen some people say, like, the Cardinals, haven't invested like that before. And that's the thing. The Cardinals, when they do invest like that, it's typically at a discount. They try to... And by the way, I think you and I would agree on this. This was a win for the Rams. The Browns got a nice player in Jared Verse, but Jared Verse has 12 career sacks. Myles Garrett averages 14 a season. Like, Jared Verse is a good player. I don't want to take, like, he'd be the best defensive lineman or outside backer or edge rusher, whatever you want to call him, on the Arizona Cardinals roster, including Josh Sweat, just because of his age and versatility. But he's not Myles Garrett. And you look back, the Cardinals twice have done similar. They got DeAndre Hopkins, and then also before that Chandler Jones, just in terms of, splash, trying to kind of go get their organization over the top. And I don't want to take away from those moves because they were good moves, but one of the things that you look at when the Cardinals make moves like that, right? Like when the Cardinals try and make plays like that, it is that it's done at a more discounted rate. Everybody was amazed that the Cardinals were able to trade David Johnson and a second-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins came in and had a year of being DeAndre Hopkins. 1,400 yards, 115 receptions, second-team All-Pro, made the Pro Bowl once again. And then reality set in. He starts off, dealing with injuries in 2021, and then in 2022, his year 30 season, he gets popped for PEDs. Chandler Jones, the Cardinals going after Chandler Jones and bringing Chandler Jones in was almost kind of the beginning of the end of that group, because you had a team that was 13-3, and we talked about the Rams loss to the Seahawks, right? That was a ultra competitive game. That was a game where it really was a coin flip. The Cardinals, when they lost to the Panthers in the NFC Championship game, weren't close. Their offense wasn't good. Their defense was miserable. They weren't close. And the game before that, they got bailed out by just poor tackling on Carson Palmer in overtime, right? And so you kind of look at it, and the Cardinals go, oh, well, we'll go get Chandler Jones. And again, was Chandler Jones great? Yes. So I don't want this to come off as like they don't go and do stuff. But Chandler Jones, at his height of his powers, was in Arizona, right? Like, he had a 17 and a 19 sack season. He was a two-time All-Pro. But he didn't improve the Cardinals. He actually never played on a winning team for the Arizona Cardinals. Oh, that's not true. He did play in 2021. I forgot about that. But, overall, he was a better than Josh Sweat, but kind of Josh Sweat type of player, right? Where he was putting up a lot of numbers on teams that were, the 2017 Cardinals had to fight, scratch and claw to get to 8-8. The 2019 Cardinals, Chandler Jones's best year as a pro, where he was second, in the Defensive Player of the Year, where he had 19 sacks. That Cardinals team was 5-10-1. Like, and that's not to say that the Rams don't implode, right, and go over the edge and everything falls apart. But there is a difference in how those moves are made, and why a great organization like the Rams have done this consistently, right?
Yeah, it's Cardinals reactive. The Rams are ahead of they're making moves ahead, right? It kind of feels like the Cardinals make a move like a year too late,
right,
or a year too early. The Rams have a good feel for what their roster looks like.
Well, and I feel like here's one of the things, and I've seen people lament this, and I've seen Cardinals fans use this as like this is a terrible move. Or not terrible, but like this is a move that like dooms them for the future because they don't have, and then they list all the players that aren't under contract in 2027. And this is not just a Cardinals thing. This is an Arizona sports fan thing. There's just too much sentimentalism with good players on bad teams. There's this like idea of like, well, you can't move on from him. And you and I talked about it 3 years ago. Maybe it was 2, but I think it was 3 years ago with Budda Baker, who we've always been huge fans of. But I said it back then. Budda Baker was your best player on really bad defenses. So if you move on from Budda Baker, yeah, I get it. Maybe your defense can be worse, but like, is it going to be that much? It's not like you're moving on from Ed Reed and the, when the Ravens were the 2001 Ravens, right? Like, you're not moving on from that guy. And I think that's kind of what makes me laugh, because it's like, if a team knows what they have, it's the Rams. Like, Cardinals fans would have been kind of pissed off if the Cardinals had moved on from Cooper Kupp, right? Like, oh, look at everything he's done for the organization. He's a this, he's a that. He was third in the MVP voting. He was the offensive player of the year we won the Super Bowl. Like, we can't move on from him. And the Rams were like, hey, we appreciate everything you did. You had a really nice career for us. Good luck in Seattle. Okay, he won a Super Bowl in Seattle. Was he like a key contributor? He was fine. It wasn't like he was great by any means, right? But Cardinals fans,
he was a nice addition, and definitely a reason why they went to the Super Bowl. He added some veteran leadership and playmaking to that team.
But he also wasn't the reason that the Rams didn't make it to the Super Bowl, right? Like,
correct.
The Rams have a great feeling, like you said, of when to move on or make moves from guys. The Cardinals and Arizona sports teams in general struggle with that. They're like, oh, yeah, we can't move on. And whether it's baseball and Paul Goldschmidt, right? Whether it's the Suns and Devin Booker, even the conversation of it's just blasphemous. and to me, it's like that's part of the issue is like there's no consistency of how they're going to move, and so like questioning a team like the Rams, who are run insanely well, especially compared to like the Cardinals, it's just kind of a wild sentiment to me.
Yeah. Coming on next on the Rise of Spirit podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. Let's move on and talk about, the impact of this, what this means for the Cardinals moving forward. That's coming on next on Rise of Spirit. We're back on the Rise of Spirit podcast, best of Cardinals talk on the web, talking about Myles Garrett and the impact on the Arizona Cardinals. Does this impact the Cardinals? Does anything change? I think there's a couple of interesting things that go along with this. One, it just shows how absolutely far behind the Cardinals are in this division, where you've got the Rams, you've got the Seahawks, you've got the 49ers, and the moves that the Cardinals are making or have made are just on a different stratosphere. And we joked about this. I mean, the Rams went out and got Myles Garrett, the defensive player of the year. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are having a contract dispute with Jacoby Brissett. That sums up the offseason of the Arizona Cardinals and the Rams. Like the Rams acquired the defensive player of the year and an all-pro cornerback in Trent McDuffie. Meanwhile, they haven't seen Jacoby Brissett or Josh Sweat in the building under the new coaching staff. And that is it's a joke, and it's sad that and we feel for all of you. We've been following this team, but it seems ever since the decision was made to move on from Kyler Murray, this team went from mildly competitive to an absolute clown show. Like they lost 9 straight games. They gave up over 30 in 6 of them. There were 3-score losses at least in 6 of those games. They have to cut Kyler Murray. Jacoby now holds out. Josh Sweat, we're not sure. Like, we did our show last week. What's the level of concern? That level of concern seems to be increasingly going up as there seems to be rumors out there of deals, as he hasn't been at any OTAs. Now we'll see next week with mandatory minicamp if he's there, and if he's there, does he suit up? It's going to be, but it feels like an offseason that was really kind of not great to beginning is starting to fall, come off the rails a bit, because yes, as Jacoby Brissett is the least interesting starting quarterback in the NFL, when you have the least interesting starting quarterback in the NFL and you're having a contract dispute with him, it sort of sums up what your year looks like.
Well, yeah. I mean, it makes the Cardinals look even worse, right? Like, your division opponents are in an arms race competing to win a Super Bowl, and you're in a contract dispute with a
20 and 45 career starter,
with a journeyman backup quarterback who's just trying to get paid one last time because you're the only franchise in the NFL that would give him a starting position. Like, you really can't write this stuff, Jess. because it's like, how?
We wish there was a better way to spin this. There's no better way to spin this. There's not. We can't spin this any better. They're a mess right now.
Well, and not just that, but it's you and I were talking about it. Our buddy Johnny tweeted about it. I think he said it was his most viral post he's ever had on X. Like, the Cardinals are in a division with the Seahawks, the Rams, and the 49ers. The Seahawks are obviously the defending Super Bowl champs. The Rams, as we've talked about completely, are, gunning to keep up and surpass those Seahawks. The 49ers are doing everything they can to maintain their position of being a true contender, not just in the NFC West, but in the NFC. And the Arizona Cardinals are in a contract dispute with Jacoby Brissett. Like when you say it out loud, it's hilarious. And to the people that are like, well, you got to pay Jacoby. Why? Why? Like, Jess and I, again, we're always team player on this. Players deserve to get paid. But in this specific instance, in this specific scenario, what are you paying for? You're paying for bulk stats. You're paying for a guy that, I mean, does he even really give you credence in what's happening?
Yeah, they signed a backup, and they signed a quarterback in Gardner Minshew. They're basically the same guy. In fact, you pointed out in our show two weeks ago, at one point, wasn't Brissett like 18-30?
Yeah.
Minshew is 17-30 in his career. And so you have a guy who you're going to get, like, the way the roster looks, nobody expects Jacoby Brissett to win games with them, with this roster. And you have a backup who is essentially a younger, whiter version of he's the RV version. He's a more interesting version of Jacoby Brissett. He's a more interesting version of Jacoby Brissett in Gardner Minshew. And then you've got a rookie who you want to find something out about. Like, if the Cardinals are going to be bad, you can do it a more interesting way. And as much as, does Brissett as a starter deserve a higher. Yes, the numbers across the board is as the bottom end of non-rookie deals is Geno Smith's $19.5 million that he's getting compensated this year. $19.5 million as the low end, and you've got Jacoby's going to make around 5 something with roster bonuses, and so yes, he should be paid more, but he has no leverage because replacing him with Minshew or Beck, you're not going to be significantly worse. They're the same team with Jacoby or Minshew. Well, and with Beck, you at least are looking forward to, is Beck an answer? You already know Brissett's not an answer. He's just not the problem. Minshew, his career says, have fun. But Beck is like, well, is he an answer? And if he's not, okay, then you're going to get your quarterback. But here's the part where, when it comes to Myles Garrett, this deal, one, it makes beating the Rams nearly impossible. And two, guess what now?
Which was already a thing.
Right. If the Cardinals are going to be bad this year, now they really need, they literally can't have, like when we predicted 4 wins for them. The Cardinals can't afford to have 4 wins this year. They need to needing to win 2 or fewer, because now in the arms race for draft capital, the Browns, an expected bad team, have two first-round picks. The Jets have 3 first-round picks, which means if the Cardinals aren't the worst team in the league and they're hanging around 4, the quarterback that they want, they won't be able to get, because if the Browns or the Jets want him, they'll get him. They'll get him.
And not just that, Jess, but you mentioned it. There's a lot of different ways that this is interesting or uninteresting, depending on how you want to look at it. But the Browns, they trade away the unequivocal best defensive player in the NFL. And they've already kind of made it known that they're going to start a bad quarterback in Deshaun Watson, because they're just kind of like playing the game, right? They're like, well, we're paying Deshaun anyways, so we might as well see what we have in him. and that's kind of the counter of the Arizona Cardinals, who are like, Jacoby, you're our guy. I mean, and this is coming from Josh Weinfuss, but you're our guy. And you and I have talked about it. It's like, was he the guy? There's a legitimate question of did they think he's actually the guy, when you're talking about the fact that this team basically
wanted Malik Willis.
Yeah,
they wanted Jimmy Garoppolo.
Did they want Ty Simpson even? Right? Was Ty Simpson really on their board as one of the best players for them? So, it's an interesting thing to me that they are in this dispute, because it's almost as if they're looking at this and going, yeah, Jacoby, we appreciate what you did last year. We appreciate the fantasy relevance. We appreciate the numbers. We appreciate all that stuff. But we can go 1-11 without you. So here's, $10 million. And Jess and I are speculating on this, but here's $10 million. Sign, or we'll literally just go with the next guy, because it's not, you're not good enough. You're not a difference maker enough. Again, you're not the problem, but you're not a difference maker enough for us to go, oh yeah, we got to have this guy in camp and in the building, and he's got to be here every day, right? That's kind of what the difference is. And just the fact that you brought this up is so wild to me. Because here's the other thing. Let's say that the Browns aren't bad, but they're not good. You know, they're the Browns. They do the Browns thing that they do every year. And they go 5-12, 6-10, whatever. But if they go, you know what we're really missing is a franchise quarterback. Guess who they can get in front of if the Cardinals don't have the first or second pick, right? If a team like the Raiders are bad again, the Raiders will take a haul to move back 3 or 4 spots and take Jeremiah Smith or you know this edge rusher or this offensive tackle. They don't need another quarterback unless Mendoza is one of the most spectacular bust of all time, right? And you can say, like you said, you say the same thing with another bad team, the New York Jets. The Cardinals don't have that ability in the sense of they basically have to mortgage their future if they're not picking 1 or 2, right? Like they don't have the assets to go up even if they pick 3. Like their assets, unless a team's like they're going to be so bad for the next couple of years that we will take multiple first round picks instead of taking, you know, the Rams 32nd pick because they just won the Super Bowl that the Browns are pairing with their 5th overall pick, right? So like that's another interesting aspect of it. You know, the foresight. I was saying like, we've gotten as much mileage out of Myles Garrett as we're going to get. Let's give him to a contender who's willing to give up a young, talented pass rusher and multiple picks. And then we'll be able to move on from Deshaun Watson and kind of clear some of those books. And if Deshaun, for whatever reason, finds his abilities again, that's another conversation. But they have all the ammo to move up. Like the Cardinals aren't just bad; they don't have any assets either to be better.
No, that's the struggle with it all, and so the Cardinals are going to be terrorized by, and here's the part where you look at, Elijah Wilkinson staring down Myles Garrett. Yes, they've got Tip Heineken, but the part that's going to be super impactful, and this is kind of going back to with the Rams, is that they've already got talented guys on that defensive line. Guess what? Even if Garrett doesn't have 20 sacks, 23 sacks again, he's going to have 14 sacks. But how many is Byron Young going to have because Myles Garrett got doubled? How many is Braden Fisk going to get? How many is Kobe Turner, Kobe Turner and Byron Young were already getting sacks on their own without Myles Garrett. You add that to they upgraded their secondary. That's going to be incredibly difficult to play against. And, at least with the Cardinals who were able to put up fantasy stats, if they're like, will they even be able to put up good fantasy numbers against this Rams team in 2026? So like, aside from the winning, is Jacoby, is Jeremiah Love, is James Conner, Tyler Algier, Marvin Harris, and Trey McBride, are they even going to be able to have good individual performances against this Rams defense? And so the part that, at least the small silver lining that there was over the final 12 games, over the final 9 games last season, was that you could at least be happy about some of the statistical numbers that they were getting. You were getting Michael Wilson, you were getting Trey McBride, but this Rams team, again, a team against whom you're going to have to play twice, are they even going to be able to put up big individual numbers against this team next year?
Yeah, that is an unlikely scenario. Like, it just is. Like, people can say, oh, you're a hater, you're this. I mean, what are we basing it on that they're going to have success? And you mentioned it, Elijah Wilkinson or Christian Jones or
Josh Fryer.
Yeah, or God forbid, Matt
Oli
Fryer.
Udo. Or
like that's the side Myles Garrett likes to line up on. The defensive left, the offensive right. So, like, it's insane to look at the Rams somehow getting better. And, again, we joked about Aaron Donald coming back, and he won't be the, defensive player of the year level Aaron Donald that he was when he was at the end of his career, even, or at the height of his powers. But could you imagine the pass rush situations? Because that's probably all he'd come back for, right? Like, you just deploy those four, and you dare 5 or 6 people to block those 4. And the reality is the Cardinals, I mean, they just don't have the firepower. And so, and I want to say one last thing. I don't remember off the top of my head, and I don't know if you do either. What was Jeremiah Love's yardage over under the last time we looked at it? Do you remember?
900.5.
So it's down again. So I don't know if this is like straight off of the other day, but it's down to 875.5.
Huh.
So, like, again,
bettors have been hitting in the under, haven't they?
Well, and that's the thing, is like, there was already consternation, if you will, about the Cardinals' use of a pick on Jeremiah Love. Not because of the talent, but because of where they were in this rebuild. And now you just add, the Seahawks were the best defense, or one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now you add the best defensive player in the NFL to another very good defense. And you say, oh, there's 4 games of Jeremiah Love's rookie season. And you're just like, oh my gosh. Like, when does it end, and when does it get better as Cardinals fans? And that's the question that we don't have the answer to, Jess.
And historically, it won't. But we
that's the best part, right?
Historically, it won't. But gosh dang it, we will hope so. So, while we don't have a lot of hope for this year, maybe things will turn around beyond that. And with that, we will wrap up this edition of the Rise Up Sea Red podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm not sure if Seth and I will have another show this week, but I am hoping to line up a guest from the Believe in Rams site, so we can kind of catch up from the Myles Garrett move and thing like that. So with that, that's Seth Cox. I'm Jess Root. Thanks for listening as always. We'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up Sea Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms, so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up, Red Sea, be Red Sea Red, and of course, Rise Up Sea Red.